Hi guys, welcome back to Ramya's World. Today I'm going to be talking on a hashtag that has been recently trending on Twitter, hashtag not all men. So the hashtag not all men started trending after the tragic case of a South London woman, Sarah Everard, who went missing while she was walking from her friend's place to her house. And this was March 3rd, and her body was found a week later in the woodlands, and a Metropolitan Police officer was charged with the kidnapping and murder of Sarah Everard. And this case became a huge high-profile case internationally, and there were women who were very upset about it, and they started in UK. They started telling that there should be a curfew for men, so the women can go out on the street safely. And in response, Twitter started trending that not all men are like that. And I remember seeing a video where the woman is saying, we know that it's not all men, but how do we know that you're not one of those men? I read a lot of articles about why was this case specifically which made headlines, where I know for a fact that I've read news all over the world where women and girls go missing and their body is found later. So some of the reasons that I saw online was one, because the person who had kidnapped and murdered her was a police officer. She was a 33-year-old white marketing executive. And though she, followed all the rules of, wearing a bright color clothes, walking in well-lit street, and she was on the phone with her boyfriend, telling that where she is at. But in spite of all that, she was kidnapped and murdered by a stranger just walking on the street. So when hashtag not all men started trending, many of the women and the girls were troubled and angered by it, because yes, of course, we all know it's not all men, but how do we know which men? Like, I read this article of this mom who was just going home after getting out of a train, and she saw that two men were following her. And she was just walking through the park, and she knew that they were following her, and she didn't know what to do. And she saw this other man who was on headphones, and she just went up to him and told him, can you pose as my boyfriend? And he didn't know what to do, but he did. And thankfully, those guys stopped following her. And this new person made sure that she reached home safely. But then again, that was a chance that she took, hoping that the guy with the headphones was a nice guy, and he would pose as a boyfriend and protect her. But it's never written on anybody's face if that guy is good or not. So the news of Sarah Everard has triggered an online movement where women and girls are sharing stories about how on a daily basis they have to watch over their shoulders to make sure that they're not being followed or they're not being stalked. And that is something I can guarantee that every girl or woman has either faced or will face. Because the world we live in, women have to be constantly watching over their shoulder and be on an alert. And I don't think the men ever feel that way or have to be so worried about their safety just walking on the street. So I think the men don't even get that when a girl or woman goes on a walk, she has this whole mind process going on to make sure that she's not being followed or not she's going to be jumped at. And this happened pretty recently when I went for a walk, and I normally tend to go on roads where there's a lot of traffic, but there was this hill that I was going through, and I felt that somebody was coming behind me, and I didn't know what to do. So I just stopped and I started looking at my phone, and the person crossed, and then I was like, okay, is he going to do something or no? And then he just walked right past me, and I was like, okay, and then I just walked behind him. So though there was nothing, but it is a thought that goes through your mind, because you read about this in the newspapers, and it's been happened. Like when you're growing up, I've had times where I had to change routes because I felt I was being followed, or change trains or buses, because you get these people who just follow you and want your number or stuff like that. So it's never been like, okay, let me just go out for a nice walk, or I can just go out without being alert and watching over my shoulder. And now that I'm in US, I don't have to take public transportation as much as I did when I was in India. I had to take the bus, the trains. But here, even now, even though I don't have to take public transport, but every time I'm at a parking lot or right when I'm coming out of a mall, I always make sure that I have the keys in my hand, the car keys in my hand, so I don't have to fish it through my purse when I reach and I'm standing in front of the car. And I make sure that once I get into the car, I lock the car. And I don't think a man thinks like that or goes through this process that where I should have my keys in the car or I got to lock the car moment I get in. But this is what a woman thinks and goes through because she does not feel safe out there. There have, of course, been so many cases where the woman just went out for a run and she was attacked and raped and left for death. And you read about all this in the newspaper and you're just scared to even go out for a walk. Like I was seeing this other interview where the lady was telling that, I get so scared taking a Uber or Lyft, and which is one of the things I am scared to take a Uber or Lyft, because you don't know if the driver is a nice guy or, he's going to kidnap you or murder you, something like that. But that's a constant fear which is there. And there was this other lady who was telling that she was just walking her dog and this man comes and asks, "Oh, your dog is so cute, can I take a picture?" And then when she saw that, he was actually trying to take a picture of the dog tag which had her address and phone number. And she was like, what if I had not seen it? Because she saw it and she asked him to delete the photo. But what she is like, what if I had not seen it? And the next time I was walking my dog in the middle of the night, he would be there. So it's a scary thing and you just have to be always on the alert. Then I read about this case where a woman in retail, she was saying that she has an engagement ring or wedding ring on because she does not like, some of the guys who are customers hit on her. So once they see the ring, they don't bother her so much. And then I read about, people going to work, dressing up ugly or not putting on makeup just so that the guys don't hit on her. So there's just so many things that a woman does just to be left free, left alone and not be bothered and just go about their everyday life. When I was younger, I remember reading this article in the newspaper where a girl she was at an examination hall giving her paper, and this guy just walked in and threw acid across her face. And they later found out it was all because she said no to going out with him. And that was like a nightmare, which I felt like, imagine, just because she said no, this is what he did to her. So growing up, I was always scared and was always on my toes and always prayed and hoped that, I won't get kidnapped or murdered or raped, because that's a constant fear which is there. And I don't think men understand that fear. Even, the fear that their mother, sister or wife go through it, but I guess people just don't talk about it as much. So I'm glad that this conversation is happening now. And it does not matter that, I'm not a young girl anymore, because even as you grow older, that fear is constantly there. Like after I had my daughter, I was constantly worried for her. Like I would not let her go to school or come back from school by herself. Like if we went to a restaurant, I would not let her go to the restroom by herself, because you read all these stories and, like real stories, not made up stories about things that happen to young kids, or, girls are kidnapped while walking or coming back from school. So it's just constantly there in the back of your mind. And now that she's older, my daughter understands that, like, why I have been such an overprotective mother. Because when she was younger, she would always say, none of the other parents or mothers do this. Why are you so overprotective about it? But it's because of the things that happens around, and it just happens in the blink of a second. Like you don't know, you're just going for a stroll, walk down, down the street, and somebody might just kidnap you or attack you or jump you. So it's a dangerous world out there. Even at the workplace, I don't think men think, oh, it's okay, I can spend, I can stay out late and be okay with it. Women have to think if they're going to stay late after office hours and if they are with around a bunch of male colleagues. So they always have to be on an alert. I read stories online about these brave girls who have put it out there about the time when they did not feel safe around guys, men. Like some of them were boyfriends, some of them were their teachers. Some were just going in, public transportation where they were brushed against inappropriately or groped. So it does not matter what age you are, what time of the day it is, what clothes you're wearing. It's just the world out there where it's very easy for people to say, oh, boys will be boys. And I was looking at the comments on all these posts. There were hardly any boys who commented. Like I saw girls saying, oh, that was brave of you. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. But I did not see any comments from boys saying that, oh my God, that should not happen. No, I had no clue about it. There were comments where the boys were like, well, some girls are, like objectifying women. It's like, yeah, some girls are like that. So, slut shaming, just stuff where they feel it's okay to say inappropriate things. And I know it's not all men, but then here's an article which I found which talks about what all men can do, and I'll have a link to the article in the description below. So it talks about how you can listen to all the women about their experience about a sexual harassment or any violence and believe them. Don't think that, oh, they're being dramatic, it's nothing big. Set an example by recognizing women as equal and developing a respectful relationship with women. Take action if you see violence happening, if you see that a woman is assaulted or something is wrong. Yeah, there are many times you don't want to be in the middle, you just want to mind your own business. But take the effort to maybe call 911 or call the police or the authorities. But don't just be a silent bystander. Learn about the problem, read about it, read about statistics, talk to others about women's safety. Think about your own behavior. Do you, in your everyday life, talk in a way that maybe not appropriate, but you don't think it's a big thing, like maybe sexist jokes or commenting on stuff like, oh, she was very hot. Think about the way you treat the women in your life, female colleagues, your female friends, your girlfriend, sister, mother. Challenge the sexist language and jokes when you're in a group of guys, or if one of your friends is cracking a joke like that, tell them it's not okay. Women do everything they can to keep themselves safe every day. They carry pepper spray in their purse, they carry the keys between their fingers to use it as weapon. They avoid going alone for walks or running. If they're taking Uber, they're using location tracking apps so that their friends, family know which Uber or where they are at. But in spite of all this, women get assaulted, are jumped upon, or they go missing, are raped, are murdered. And it's like, what do you do? Like, how much more can you be on alert and watching all over your shoulder when, in spite of all the precautions that you're taking, things like this continue to happen? And you hear most of the time they're blaming the woman or the girl that, she was not careful, she was asking for it, the way she was dressed. People who are dressed from top to bottom, does not matter, they get raped. So it's not about the way they are dressed or, what time of the day they are out. It's because the men out there think they can do what they want and the women don't feel safe around it. So yes, we know it's not all men, but we don't know which men are the bad ones. It is hard to put your trust on a stranger who may be a good one and is trying to help you out. But because of the way things are in this society and the news and the things that happen around, it's hard for a woman to trust somebody. So I'm going to stop at that, but I really hope the men take some action and be advocates, to stop the violence against women and make them feel safe. Talk to your sister, your girlfriends, and your mother or your female friends and ask them, and you'll be surprised to know that each of them will tell you that they don't feel safe going out by themselves, and which should not be the case. Men don't have to think and watch over their shoulder every time they step out of the house, but a woman or a girl has to, and that is something we as a society need to change. I don't know when it will be, but at least you have to be aware that it's a problem and it is not something that the women are just making up. it's a real problem. So I really hope that all men take up steps to make the women around them and in their life feel safe, so they can trust them and not be always on the edge. So that's it for me, guys, today. I'll see you guys back next Friday. But until then, live in the moment, enjoy every moment, kyunki kal na ho. And as always, please do follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. And please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I'll see you guys back next week. Bye. Love you all.